Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. Today we're going to use these cute ceramic seahorse beads straight from the craft store to make this really interesting necklace. I'll give you some ideas of how I chose the colors and the design. So I picked up these little seahorses at my local Michael's. It's their Bead Gallery brand. And I thought they were just really cute. Somehow I have this maybe OCD problem though with like putting them on a bracelet, which had been my first thought, but having them go sideways just bothers me. I know, it's weird. So I thought to make a necklace with them, and I was very thankful that when you flip them over, they're all still facing the right direction, because that would make me buggy to have them upside down at times. So the first thing I did was I carefully looked at these beads and the colors that are in them to decide just what other beads and colors I was going to put with them. Now, of course, the obvious would be more purples. I could do a deep purple, I could do a lavender, you could do both. You could do some pinks, you could go with the ivory color. But one thing that I kind of honed in on were these crackles that are sort of a coppery gold. With that in mind, I found these beads. These are just glass strands, Blue Moon brand. I think these are from Joann's. And I really like the way these went with and contrasted with the cream and the purple. So I decided I was going to make a necklace with multiple strands. What I have in mind is to have like 3 of these on one side with some strands of these beads going around, and then something on the other side to balance these 3. I found this lampwork bead that I picked up at a bead show many years ago, and I just love the creaminess, all the different cream and white shades in it, and I thought that balanced it really well. Whether we're making a symmetrical or an asymmetrical design, we're always looking for balance. So if you're doing symmetry, well then you would just have the exact same thing on each side, and that would be balanced. But if you're doing something asymmetrical, it's a little bit trickier. There aren't any hard and fast rules. It's more just something you have to experiment with. What I was looking for was visual weight. And this big bead, this is a humongous lampwork bead, I thought balanced the seahorses really well. I also decided to use some of these little frosted purple beads, and I'll intersperse those in with the strands of bronze beads just to kind of tie the purple all in together. It won't be obvious that they're there. They'll kind of blend in, but I think it'll just help tie the whole thing together. Just going to pop a little bead stopper on one end of one wire and start stringing. And you notice I didn't even cut these out of the hank. And if you're using a firm bead stringing wire or even a bead stringing needle, you can often just get in there. Instead of stringing these one at a time, kind of hold it firm and taut, and you can just push that wire through a whole bunch of beads at a time. It's a much easier way of doing it, and then it'll come out at some point, and that's fine. And that's when I'm going to make sure, get my wire out of the way and cut the strand that they came on. Give that a little bit of a pull. And now all those beads are on my wire. And then I'm going to make sure and throw in the occasional purple bead. And then carry on stringing these bronze beads until I have 10 inches of beads on each of my 5 strands of wire. It's always my hope that you all find these videos helpful and encouraging and inspiring. And if you do, I hope that you'll join sometimes. And if you do, I hope that you'll join the many others who have decided to support me on Patreon. and become a patron and help support these tutorials. Because although they are free for you to watch, and I want to keep it that way always, they're not free for me to put together. I have to spend quite a bit of time, buy equipment, learn how to use things, buy materials. It costs me quite a bit in time and effort to put these videos together for you every week. And if you're able to afford it, I would love it if you could support me for $1 or more over at Patreon. In return, you get great rewards like sneak peeks, bonus videos, bonus templates, and every quarter I give away some of my jewelry and polymer clay pieces to my patrons. Alright, let's try this again. That didn't work so well. Ooh, look at that. A nice big chunk. There. Hold on to it. There we go. So just keep carrying on like that until you have 10 inches of beads on each of your 5 strands. So there, I've got my 5 strands strung, and I'm really liking those little pops of the purple in amongst the bronze. And what I did on the ends was I made sure that the last bead on each of my strands was one of the small seed beads, and then I put all 5 strands through one of the larger ones. I did that on both ends. And I'm just going to go ahead and string my lampwork bead onto all 5 strands. You know, I looked for bead caps and such for this, but I really didn't find any that I liked, that I thought did anything for it. Oh, that's good. And I'll do the same over here. I'll string on one of my seahorses, making sure it's facing the right way. Oh, I like that. And I think I'll do maybe a combination of the larger seed beads and these purple beads in between the seahorses. Oh, I don't know if these are going to fit. I don't think I can fit 5 of those through that. No, that's not going to happen. So that's okay. I'll just do these large bronze beads on all 5 strands between the seahorses. If you're ever interested in the supplies that I used or the tools, you should know that with every video tutorial I make, I always have an accompanying blog post. And in that blog post, I have a complete supply list and links to products. And there's usually more information there. I write the blog post after I've done the video, and sometimes there's things I've thought of after making the project. So you should always just take a minute and check out the blog post. There's useful stuff there. So I'm going to finish stringing on my seahorses, and then I'm going to add a few beads on each of the strands on the other side of the lampwork bead and the other side of the seahorses. So here you can see I've done some stringing on the end above the seahorses. What I've done is I've taken a head pin and just cut off the head and used it as a piece of wire and made a good size loop, but made sure that it would fit into my bead cone. And then each of these remaining wires I slid on a crimp and then pulled the wire back through the crimp, but left just a little tiny loop before crimping it. And that's what's going to go into the loop of that wire. So just like this. Pop the crimp on, the wire goes back through. And then I found the one-step crimper is great here because you can pop that in and let the little jaw hold the crimp and then actually pull that end of the wire so that your loop is pretty small, like 1/8 of an inch or so. Always test it. Make sure it's not going anywhere. You can trim the excess wire and then put it through this loop. And then there, that will cover it up. And then what you'll have to do, you can see how this isn't even, you'll have to go to this end and just pull on the strands of wire one by one until they're all even. Of course, you don't want to pull them too tight. And then I'll do the same thing on this other end, just add 2 inches of beads, the crimps, the loops. You'll have to pull it up a little snug on this end, but not too tight, or your necklace just won't hang gracefully, and put on the bead cap. And to finish this, You just make a wrapped loop or a simple loop, whichever you prefer. And then you can add whatever you want around the sides and back of the necklace. I have some chain I'm going to add. You could add another beaded strand with more of your little seed beads. Whatever you think looks good. Add a clasp and your necklace is done. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a peek at my Patreon page for how you can get great rewards and help support these tutorials and keep them coming for free for everybody. Happy creating. Bye-bye.